The crystalline dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled with the refracted light of Proxima Centauri's twin suns. Located on the seventh planet of the system, affectionately known as PC-7 by its inhabitants, the chamber housed representatives from 247 spacefaring civilizations. Today, an unscheduled session had been called, and the chamber buzzed with nervous energy. High Counselor Zixtra glided across the polished obsidian floor, her exoskeleton glinting under the ambient lighting. 6 limbs moved in perfect synchronization as she approached the central podium. The chamber's acoustics were designed to carry her voice to every corner, without technological assistance, a nod to the ancient traditions of the founding species. "The Council is now in session," she announced, her voice carrying a harmonious resonance that immediately silenced the murmurs. "As per Emergency Protocol 47 Alpha, I have summoned Admiral Corvin, our foremost expert on Earth incidents." A door at the far end of the chamber slid open, and Admiral Corvin entered. His weathered face bore the marks of someone who had spent decades in command of interstellar vessels. His uniform, adorned with insignia, representing successful peacekeeping missions across 17 star systems, seemed to weigh heavily on his shoulders today. "High Counselor," he acknowledged with a curt nod. "Council members." Zixtra's compound eyes narrowed slightly. "Admiral, at precisely 0347 Universal Standard Time, Earth's communications ceased across all quantum-entangled channels. No warning, no explanation, just silence." The chamber erupted in concerned chittering and vibrations, the varied communication methods of diverse species expressing a singular emotion alarm. Corvin nodded gravely. "I was informed approximately 12 minutes after the silence began. As per protocol, I have already ordered the 7th Fleet to mobilize. They are prepared for immediate translocation to the Sol system." "How many vessels?" asked a counselor from the Rigelian Confederacy, their gelatinous form pulsating with anxiety. 37 battlecruisers, 54 support vessels, and the flagship, Inevitable Consequence." Corvin replied without hesitation. "Standard Earth silence deployment." High Counselor Zixtra tapped a sequence on the console before her. A holographic representation of Earth materialized in the center of the chamber, rotating slowly. Various data points floated around it, most notably a large red indicator flashing "Communications offline." "Admiral, this is the 3rd Earth silence event this standard year," Zixtra noted, her tone carrying a hint of exasperation. "The resources we divert to these incidents are substantial." Corvin moved toward the hologram, studying it with the practiced eye of someone who had observed this particular planet for far too long. "With respect, High Counselor, we cannot afford to treat any Earth silence as routine. The last 17 incidents have each presented unique challenges, and I need not remind the Council of the Hadron incident of '89. A collective shudder passed through the chamber. Even species without traditional nervous systems seemed to recoil at the memory. "Proceed with your assessment, Admiral," Zixtra conceded. Corvin gestured, and the hologram expanded to show Earth's surrounding space. "We've activated the Human Unpredictability Committees on all major worlds. Contingency plans are being implemented. But until we understand what's happening, we must prepare for the worst." Zixtra finished. "Very well. The Council formally authorizes full emergency measures. Admiral, you have unrestricted authority until communications are restored." Corvin bowed slightly. "Thank you, High Counselor. I shall depart immediately to join the fleet." As he turned to leave, a counselor from the Eridani Collective spoke, their voice translating through the chamber's systems as metallic and precise. "Admiral, before you go, what is your preliminary assessment? What could possibly cause a planetary silence this time?" Corvin paused at the chamber's threshold. "If history is any indicator, Counselor, it could be anything from a fusion experiment gone wrong to another internet collapse, perhaps another dimensional mishap like the one in '93. He allowed himself a small, weary smile. Or, as was the case 3 standard years ago, they might simply be experiencing another viral cat video overload. The joke, if it was indeed intended as such, fell flat in the tense atmosphere. Whatever the cause, Corvan continued more seriously, Earth's silence has historically preceded events of unpredictable consequences. The Seventh Fleet will be in position within 6 hours. I will report as soon as we have visual confirmation of Earth's status. With that, he exited the chamber, leaving behind a council divided between anxiety and resignation. Earth, it seemed, would never be a routine member of the galactic community. Admiral Corvin's personal transport, a sleek vessel designed for both speed and strategic command capabilities, broke away from PC-7's orbit and accelerated toward the designated rendezvous coordinates. Inside the command center, he reviewed the historical data on Earth silence events, searching for patterns that might have been previously overlooked. Commander Velith, his second-in-command and chief tactical analyst, stood at attention nearby. Her species evolved on a high-gravity world, giving her a compact, powerful build that belied her exceptional intellect. "Admiral, I've compiled the complete history of Earth silence incidents since their admission to the Council," she reported, transferring the data to his personal display. 43 major incidents in 117 standard years. Corvin scrolled through the list, his expression growing increasingly troubled. No other species comes close to this record. No, sir. The next highest is the Bellatrix conglomerate with 7 incidents, and those were during their civil war. Corvin paused on a particular entry. The quantum entanglement overload of 72. I remember that one. They were attempting to create an instantaneous transportation network. Yes, sir. It collapsed half their lunar colony into a pocket dimension. And we had to send in specialized extraction teams, Corvin added, the memory still fresh despite the decades that had passed. 342 humans rescued, all insisting they had experienced only minutes of displacement, while 3 weeks had passed for the rest of us. Velith shifted uncomfortably. If I may speak freely, Admiral. Always, Commander. Why do we continue to accommodate them? The resources expended on monitoring Earth and responding to these silences could be better allocated to more predictable civilizations. Corvin leaned back in his chair, considering the question. It wasn't the first time he'd heard it, nor the first time he'd asked it himself during particularly frustrating missions. I once asked High Counselor Zixtra the same question, he finally responded. She reminded me that in the 8,000 years of Galactic Council history, no species has advanced as rapidly as humans, from splitting the atom to faster-than-light travel in less than 3 centuries. Their capacity for technological leaps is unparalleled, and unfortunately, so is their capacity for catastrophic miscalculation. So we babysit them because they might accidentally destroy a star system. Corvin gave a short, humorless laugh. We babysit them because if they survive their own recklessness long enough, they might revolutionize technology in ways we can't imagine. The quantum-entangled communication network we all rely on, based on principles discovered by a human physicist who was trying to create a better coffee machine. The ship's alert system chimed, interrupting their conversation. The pilot's voice came through the intercom. Admiral, we're approaching the rendezvous coordinates. The 7th Fleet is already in position. Thank you, Lieutenant. Prepare for docking with the inevitable consequence. As the transport adjusted its course, Corvan returned his attention to the data. 43 silence events, he murmured. Let's hope number 44 is as benign as those cat videos. The inevitable consequence lived up to its imposing name. The flagship of the 7th Fleet stretched nearly 4 kilometers from bow to stern, a testament to the Galactic Council's commitment to peacekeeping or intervention, depending on one's perspective. Its hull gleamed with a pearlescent sheen, the result of advanced materials designed to withstand everything from meteor impacts to directed energy weapons. Admiral Corvin stepped onto the bridge, and the assembled officers snapped to attention. The bridge crew represented a dozen different species, each selected for their expertise in human affairs and crisis management. "At ease," Corvin said, moving to the Central Command Station. "Status report." Lieutenant Commander Gray, the ship's senior xenoanthropologist, stepped forward. Unlike most of her colleagues, she had actually lived among humans for several years as part of a cultural exchange program. Her 4 arms were adorned with human jewelry, a personal touch that raised eyebrows among the more conservative officers, but was tolerated given her expertise. "Admiral, we've established a perimeter at the edge of the Sol system," she reported. "Long-range scans show normal activity around Earth's orbital installations, but we're still unable to establish any quantum communication. Conventional signals. Nothing directed outward. Sir, internal electromagnetic communications appear normal, but no response to our hails on any frequency." Corvin frowned. "That's unusual. Even during previous silences, they typically maintained some form of conventional communication." "Yes, sir, it's as if they're preoccupied." Commander Veleth joined them, having arrived on the bridge moments after Corvin. "Fleet is in standard formation. Admiral, all vessels report ready for translocation to Earth orbit if necessary." Corvin nodded, then addressed the navigation officer. "Set course for the Sol system. Maximum sustainable speed. I want us within sensor range of Earth within the hour." "Yes, Admiral," the officer responded, their tentacles dancing across the control interface. As the massive vessel began to move, Corvin turned to Lieutenant Commander Gray. "Your assessment, Lieutenant. What could cause this particular pattern of silence?" Gray's secondary eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought in her species. "Based on historical patterns, sir, I would normally suggest a technological experiment. However, there were no scheduled tests on the Council calendar." "Could it be political?" Veleth suggested. "Another one of their governmental disputes escalating?" "Possible," Gray acknowledged. "But typically those generate more communication, not less. They tend to argue publicly across multiple channels." The inevitable consequence. Accelerated smoothly, its advanced propulsion systems barely noticeable to those on board. Around it, the rest of the 7th Fleet moved in perfect coordination, a choreographed dance of military precision. "Sir," called the sensor officer, "we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations from Earth's direction." Corvin moved swiftly to the sensor station. "Specify." "It's difficult to characterize, sir. The pattern doesn't match any known weapon signature or natural phenomenon. It's almost as if—" The officer paused, manipulating the controls to refine the readings. "Sir, it appears to be a massive surge in data transmission, but contained entirely within Earth's own networks and satellites." "Internal communications only?" Corvin asked, brow furrowed. "Yes, sir. They're using every available bandwidth, but none of it is directed outward. Not even to their own outer colonies on Mars and Europa." Corvin exchanged a glance with Gray, who looked equally puzzled. "Theories?" "Without more data, sir. I can only speculate. But this pattern is consistent with some previous events where Earth focused all resources on a single priority." "Like the cat videos?" Veleth asked, her tone making it clear she found the concept absurd. "Similar, Commander, but magnitudes larger in scale," Gray replied seriously. "Whatever they're transmitting or receiving, it's consuming nearly their entire planetary communication capacity." Corvin straightened. Decision made. "We need eyes on the ground. Prepare a stealth shuttle. Minimal crew myself, Lieutenant Commander Gray, and a security detail." Veleth stepped forward. "Admiral, protocol dictates that you remain with the fleet. Allow me to lead the ground team." "Protocol also grants fleet commanders discretionary authority during Earth silence events," Corvin countered. And my experience with Earth incidents may prove crucial. After a moment's hesitation, Velith nodded. Understood, sir. I'll command the fleet in your absence. Standard contingency measures. Yes. If we lose contact for more than 2 hours, move the fleet into Earth orbit and prepare for full intervention protocols. And if the silence ends while you're on the surface, Corvin allowed himself a small smile. Then we'll likely have another amusing anecdote for the Council archives. Have the shuttle ready in 15 minutes. The stealth shuttle slipped through Earth's atmosphere with barely a ripple, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to human detection systems. Inside, Admiral Corvin reviewed the mission parameters with his small team. We'll set down near one of their major urban centers, New York. Lieutenant Commander Gray has contacts there, who might provide insight without triggering diplomatic incidents. Gray nodded. Professor Eliza Sharma at Columbia University. She's aware of the Council's existence and has helped during previous incidents. The security detail 4 officers specializing in covert operations on developing worlds checked their equipment. Unlike the standard-issue weapons used in most Council operations, these were designed specifically for Earth non-lethal and easily mistaken for human technology if discovered. Remember, Corvin emphasized, observation only. We're here to determine the cause of the silence, not to intervene unless absolutely necessary. The shuttle's pilot guided them toward the landing coordinates, a secluded area in what humans called Central Park. As they descended, Corvin gazed out at the sprawling city. New York always fascinated him, a chaotic, vibrant metropolis that somehow functioned despite its seeming disorganization. In many ways, it epitomized humanity itself. "Sir," the pilot called, "I'm picking up unusual patterns down there." Corvin moved to the cockpit. "Explain." "The city's movement patterns are off. Streets in some areas are nearly empty, while residential zones show minimal external activity. It's as if a significant portion of the population is staying indoors. Quarantine," one of the security officers suggested, concern evident in their voice. Gray leaned forward, studying the sensor readings. No typical signs of pandemic response. No emergency vehicles mobilized. No medical cordons. This is different. The shuttle touched down silently in a wooded area, its cloaking field maintaining their invisibility. As the team prepared to disembark, Corvin gave final instructions. Standard Earth-appropriate attire. Communication devices disguised as their smartphones. Remember, we observe, we investigate, we report back. No interaction with the general population unless absolutely necessary. Within minutes, the team had changed into clothing that would allow them to blend in with humans. Corvin felt the familiar discomfort of the restrictive garments, how humans managed with only 2 limbs, and such inflexible clothing remained a mystery to him. They moved through the park, encountering few humans despite the pleasant weather. Those they did see were often walking rapidly, many speaking into communication devices with apparent excitement or urgency. Can't believe it's tonight. I've been waiting all year for this. Already got the snacks ready." Fragments of conversations reached them as they passed, providing little context, but suggesting some sort of anticipated event. Gray led them toward the university campus, navigating with the confidence of someone who had walked these streets before. "Professor Sharma's office should be in the building ahead," she said, pointing to an imposing structure of stone and glass. As they approached, however, Corvin noticed a sign on the main doors. "Classes canceled. Faculty meeting day." "Unusual," Gray commented. There was nothing on her schedule about a faculty meeting. They found another entrance and made their way through the corridors, following Gray's memory of the layout. When they reached Professor Sharma's office, they found it dark and locked. "Now what?" asked one of the security officers. Corvin was about to respond when a human emerged from a nearby room, an older male with silver hair and a distracted expression. He looked up, noticed them, and paused. If you're looking for Professor Sharma, she's not coming in today, he said. Like half the faculty. Can I help you with something? Gray stepped forward smoothly. Yes, we had an appointment regarding her work on advanced communication theories. Is there a way to reach her? The man laughed. Good luck with that. She's probably like everyone else offline until after the finale. You'd have better luck next week. The finale, Corvan asked before he could stop himself. The man gave him an incredulous look. The Stellar Odyssey finale, the biggest television event of the decade. It's all anyone's been talking about for months. He shook his head. You must be the only people on Earth who don't know about it. Of course, Gree recovered quickly. We've been traveling, lost track of time. Well, it starts in about 3 hours. Every network, streaming service, and viewing platform is carrying it simultaneously. First time that's happened since, I can't even remember. Anyway, good luck finding anyone willing to miss it for a meeting. With that, the man continued down the hallway, leaving the team to exchange bewildered glances. Stellar Odyssey, one of the security officers whispered. A entertainment program is causing a planetary communication silence. Gray's expression shifted to one of realization. It fits the pattern. Remember the cat video incident. This appears to be similar but on a much larger scale. Corvin felt a mixture of relief and exasperation. We need to confirm. Let's find a public information terminal, one of their internet cafes, and gather more data. The internet cafe turned out to be nearly empty, save for a bored-looking young human behind the counter. The team selected a table near the back, and Gray accessed one of the public terminals. Stellar Odyssey, she read from the screen. A science fiction drama series concluding its 10-year run tonight in a 3-hour special finale. Expected to be watched by over 4 billion viewers worldwide. She scrolled further. Apparently, the show's premise involves humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Corvin couldn't help but laugh. A short, sharp sound that drew glances from the others. 4 billion viewers. That's more than half their population. According to these reports, Gray continued, global network providers have been preparing for months, reallocating bandwidth, setting up dedicated servers. Some countries have even temporarily shut down non-essential services to ensure stable viewing experiences. And the quantum entangled communications, Corvan asked. Gray typed rapidly, searching through technical forums and government announcements. Here it is. To ensure optimal viewing experience for this historic broadcast, Earth's Quantum Communication Authority announces a temporary suspension of all outgoing interstellar transmissions. All bandwidth will be redirected to support domestic content delivery networks. Corvin read over her shoulder, disbelief evident in his expression. They shut down their communication with the rest of the galaxy for an entertainment broadcast. Not just any broadcast, Gray corrected, continuing to scan the information. This program has apparently become a cultural phenomenon. Political tensions have eased as nations collaborated on broadcast infrastructure. There are viewing parties planned in conflict zones, with temporary ceasefires declared. Ceasefires for a television show, one of the security officers muttered. Only humans would think of that. Corvin straightened, processing the implications. So there's no crisis, no technological disaster, no existential threat, just entertainment. Not just entertainment. From their perspective, Gray noted, this appears to be a significant cultural milestone, a shared experience that transcends their usual divisions. Corvin nodded slowly. And they didn't notify the council because they probably didn't think it was significant enough to mention, Gray suggested. Or perhaps they did file a notice, but it wasn't flagged as a potential silence event. Either way, Corvin said, we've mobilized the 7th Fleet, activated emergency protocols across 17 systems, and caused the Council to convene an emergency session, because humans wanted to watch their favorite program without interruption. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on any of them. One of the security officers actually snickered before quickly composing themselves. "We should report back," Corvin decided. "But first, I want to see this for myself. What time does this finale begin?" Grey checked the information. "Approximately 2 hours from now, sir. Then we have time to observe the phenomenon directly. I want to understand why this is important enough to risk interstellar diplomatic incidents." The team found themselves in a public viewing area in Times Square, where massive screens had been erected to broadcast the finale. As the scheduled time approached, humans gathered in increasing numbers, the excitement in the air palpable. Corvin and his team maintained their positions on the periphery, observing with a mixture of curiosity and bewilderment. The security officers maintained a professional demeanor, but Corvin noticed Grey was watching the proceedings with undisguised fascination. "Lieutenant Commander," he said quietly, "your assessment." Grey's 4 eyes blinked in sequence again. "It's remarkable, sir. Look at the diversity in this crowd. Different ages, ethnicities, social classes all united by this shared experience. From an anthropological perspective, it's a rare opportunity to observe human cultural cohesion on a mass scale." Corvin had to admit there was something compelling about the scene. Strangers were striking up conversations, sharing theories about how the story might end, recounting favorite moments from previous episodes. "10 minutes to broadcast," someone shouted, and a cheer went up from the crowd. "Sir," one of the security officers said, "we should return to the shuttle soon to report our findings." Corvin nodded, but found himself reluctant to leave. "A few more minutes. I want to see how this begins, at least." The screens suddenly lit up with a dramatic musical overture, and the crowd fell silent. The opening sequence of Stellar Odyssey played across the massive displays, a sweeping cosmic vista with ships that bore little resemblance to actual interstellar vessels, but were impressive nonetheless. Corvin watched, finding himself drawn into the spectacle despite his better judgment. The program began with a recap of previous events, a complex narrative involving human explorers, mysterious alien artifacts, and diplomatic tensions with a civilization called the Astral Conclave. "The irony," Grey whispered beside him. "Their fictional alien council bears a striking resemblance to our actual Galactic Council. Let's hope their fictional solutions are less resource-intensive than our real ones," Corvin replied dryly. As the recap concluded and the finale proper began, Corvin reluctantly gestured to his team. "We've seen enough. Back to the shuttle." They made their way through the now packed streets, navigating around groups clustered around portable viewing devices or peering through windows of electronics stores, where the program played on every available screen. Once back at the shuttle and safely cloaked, Corvin opened a secure channel to the inevitable consequence. "Admiral to flagship, report status." Commander Velith's voice came through clearly. "Flagship to Admiral. The fleet remains at ready status. No changes in Earth silence. What have you discovered, sir?" "The situation is non-critical," Corvin replied, unable to keep a hint of exasperation from his voice. "Earth has temporarily diverted all communications bandwidth, including quantum channels, to support a planet-wide entertainment broadcast." A pause. "Entertainment, sir." "A fictional drama about humans encountering aliens. The final episode of a popular series, apparently significant enough to warrant shutting down interstellar communications." Another, longer pause. "I see, Admiral, your orders." Corvin considered. "Maintain current position, but stand down from alert status. I'm returning to the flagship. We'll monitor the situation, but intervention is unnecessary." "Understood, sir. And the Council?" "I'll prepare a full report once I'm back on board. Corvin out." As the shuttle lifted off, Corvin gazed down at the city below. From this height, the patterns were clear, minimal vehicle movement, dense clusters around entertainment venues, a planet temporarily united by storytelling. "You know," Grey said, following his gaze. There's something almost admirable about it. In their own way, they've achieved what the Council strives for: unity across differences. Through fictional aliens rather than cooperation with real ones, Corvin noted. Perhaps that's easier for them, Gray suggested. Fiction allows them to explore possibilities without immediate consequences. Corvan considered this. A rehearsal for reality. In a sense, they imagine scenarios, play them out in safe environments, then gradually incorporate the lessons into their actual interactions. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere, Earth receding below them. An inefficient approach, Corvin said. But I suppose it has its merits. Gree smiled, a gesture she had adopted during her time among humans. Efficiency isn't everything, Admiral. Sometimes the scenic route provides insights the direct path doesn't offer. Back aboard, the inevitable consequence. Admiral Corvin prepared his report for the Galactic Council. Commander Velith stood nearby, reading the preliminary findings with an expression that shifted between disbelief and amusement. They shut down all outgoing communications. For entertainment, she asked for the third time. Yes, Commander, Corvin confirmed patiently. And according to Lieutenant Commander Gray's research, this isn't even the first time. It's simply the largest-scale instance we've encountered. And their government officials, military emergency services, all apparently engaged in viewing the program as well. Though essential services remain operational, many government functions were temporarily suspended. Velith shook her head. The Council will not be pleased. The resources expended on this response were necessary given the information available. Corvin finished firmly. Until we confirmed the cause, an Earth silence event required standard protocol response. Yes, sir, Velith conceded. What are your recommendations moving forward? Corvan gestured to the final section of his report. We need to establish better monitoring of Earth's cultural calendar, advance notification of major broadcasts, premieres, finales, anything that might strain their communication infrastructure to the point of affecting interstellar channels. You believe they'll comply once they understand the consequences of not doing so? Yes. No one wants a battle fleet appearing in their system because they forgot to file the proper paperwork. The communications officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Their quantum-entangled channels are coming back online. Put it through, Corvin ordered. The main view screen activated, showing a human in formal attire, a representative of Earth's Unified Space Authority. The man looked somewhat flustered. Admiral Corvin, he began. We've just been informed of your fleet's presence at the edge of our system. Is there a situation we should be aware of? Corvin maintained a neutral expression. Your planet went silent across all quantum-entangled channels approximately 10 hours ago. No notification was provided to the Galactic Council. Standard protocol dictates a fleet response to any unexplained Earth silence event. The representative's expression shifted to one of embarrassment. Ah, I see. The Stellar Odyssey broadcast. I believe there was supposed to be a notification filed with the Council's Cultural Exchange Office. No such notification was received, Corvan stated flatly. An oversight, surely. With the preparations for the broadcast, certain administrative details may have been overlooked. Overlooked, Corvin repeated. Counselor, may I remind you that under Galactic Treaty Section 783, Paragraph 12, all member worlds are required to maintain continuous quantum communication or provide advance notice of any planned interruptions. Yes, of course, Admiral. A regrettable error. I assure you it won't happen again. I've heard that assurance after previous incidents, Corvin noted. Perhaps more concrete measures are needed. The human straightened, professionalism reasserting itself. What do you propose, Admiral? My full recommendations will be submitted to the Council. In the meantime, I suggest your government immediately implement a system to integrate major cultural events into your interstellar notification protocols. That seems reasonable. I'll convey your suggestion to the appropriate authorities. The representative paused. If I may ask, Admiral, how was the broadcast received among your crew? I understand some of your officers have an interest in human entertainment. The question caught Corvin off guard. We were somewhat preoccupied with determining whether your planet was experiencing a catastrophe. Of course. My apologies. It's just, well, Stellar Odyssey has been quite popular, even among some of our extraterrestrial visitors. The Luna base reported several non-human residents participating in viewing parties. Corvin exchanged a glance with Velith, who looked equally bemused. I am afraid we didn't have the opportunity to evaluate its entertainment value. A shame. The finale has been praised as a masterpiece of interspecies drama. Perhaps once your duties permit? Perhaps, Corvin said noncommittally. For now, we'll remain at our current position until full communications are restored. Corvin out. As the transmission ended, Velith approached. Interspecies drama, sir. It seems our fictional counterparts may have had a more eventful day than we did. Corvin replied. Status of the fleet. All vessels maintaining position as ordered. Full communications should be restored within the hour, according to Earth's transmission schedule. Corvin nodded. Once confirmed, set course back to Proxima Centauri 7. The Council will be waiting for our report. And what exactly will you tell them, sir? Corvin considered the question. The truth, Commander. That once again, Earth has demonstrated its unique capacity to surprise us this time, thankfully, without existential threats or dimensional anomalies. The Galactic Council chamber was significantly less tense than during their previous session, though Corvan noted a current of irritation running through many of the representatives. High Counselor Zixtra presided with her usual dignity, but even her crystalline exoskeleton seemed to radiate a certain rigidity that suggested annoyance. Admiral Corvin, she began, once the formalities were complete. The Council has reviewed your preliminary report regarding Earth Silence Event 44. Would you care to elaborate on your findings? Corvin stood at the central podium, aware of the attention focused on him from representatives of hundreds of worlds. High Counselor, Council members, as detailed in my report, the recent Earth silence was the result of a planned reallocation of communication resources to support a planet-wide entertainment broadcast. A television show, clarified a counselor from the Vega Alliance, using the human term with evident disdain. Yes, Counselor. The final episode of a long-running drama series titled Stellar Odyssey, which depicted fictional first contact and interstellar relations. And this, fiction, was deemed important enough to violate interstellar communication protocols, asked another representative. According to Earth authorities, there was supposed to be a notification filed with the Council. It appears this was overlooked in the preparations for the event. High Counselor Zixtra's compound eyes fixed on Corvin. This is the third such oversight in recent standard years. Admiral, the resources expended on these responses are substantial. I am aware, High Counselor. That is why my report includes specific recommendations for preventing similar incidents in the future. Yes, your proposed Resolution 7295B, Zixtra acknowledged, requiring Earth to integrate cultural event calendars into interstellar notification protocols and establishing a dedicated monitoring system for human entertainment schedules. Put that way, it sounded almost absurd. Corvin kept his expression neutral. The proposal would significantly reduce unnecessary fleet deployments while respecting Earth's cultural practices. A counselor from the Arcturus hegemony rose. I find it difficult to believe we are seriously considering allocating resources to monitor human entertainment schedules. Perhaps stronger measures are warranted. Sanctions, for instance. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Corvin spoke carefully. If I may, Counselor, while the oversight is concerning, We must consider the context. This broadcast united their planet in a way few events have. It temporarily suspended conflicts, facilitated cooperation between historically antagonistic nations, and demonstrated humans' capacity for shared experience. Admirable qualities, conceded the counselor, but irrelevant to the issue of protocol violation. Not irrelevant, Corvin countered. Understanding the cultural significance helps us respond appropriately. Heavy sanctions might be perceived as punishing humanity for something they value deeply, their storytelling traditions. Lieutenant Commander Gray had been granted permission to attend the session as a cultural expert. At a nod from High Counselor Zixtra, she stepped forward. If I may elaborate, Gray began. Humans use fictional narratives as a way to process complex ideas, including interspecies relations. Stellar Odyssey has actually portrayed the Galactic Council, albeit in fictionalized form, in a generally positive light. Our research indicates it has contributed to increased human support for continued participation in interstellar cooperation. This information seemed to give several counselors pause. Furthermore, Gray continued, the program concluded with a message of optimism about galactic community and shared responsibility themes that align with Council principles. High Counselor Zixtra considered this. You are suggesting that rather than punish this behavior, we should accommodate it. I am suggesting, Gray replied carefully, that we recognize its importance to humans and establish protocols that respect their cultural needs, while ensuring proper notification procedures are followed. After a moment, Zixtra turned to the broader council. The matter before us is Resolution 7295B. The proposal would establish a human cultural calendar monitoring system and require Earth authorities to provide advance notice of any event that might impact interstellar communications. The voting process was swift by Council standards, taking less than 20 minutes as representatives conferred with their delegations. When the results appeared on the central display, Resolution 7295B had passed with a comfortable majority. The resolution is adopted, Zixtra announced. Admiral Corvin, as our resident expert on Earth affairs, you will oversee its implementation. Corvin bowed slightly. Thank you, High Counselor. I will begin immediately. As the session concluded and representatives filed out of the chamber, Zixtra approached Corvin privately. A diplomatic solution, Admiral, though I suspect it won't be the last unusual situation Earth presents us with. Almost certainly not. High Counselor, Corvin agreed. But perhaps we're learning to anticipate their unpredictability. A contradiction in terms, Zixtra noted, with what might have been amusement, yet somehow appropriate where humans are concerned. 3 standard months later, Admiral Corvin found himself once again on the bridge of the inevitable consequence. This time, however, the vessel was not racing toward Earth in response to an emergency, but maintaining a scheduled patrol near the Sol system. Commander Veleth approached, datapad in hand. Admiral, we've received the updated human cultural calendar from Earth's Interstellar Relations Office. Corvin accepted the pad, scrolling through the meticulously detailed schedule of upcoming entertainment events, their expected viewership, and potential impact on communication systems. They've certainly become thorough, he remarked. Perhaps too thorough, Veleth replied. Do we really need to know about every sporting event and award ceremony? Better too much information than another fleet mobilization, Corvin said, continuing to review the data. He paused on one entry. What's this A prequel series to Stellar Odyssey premiering next month? Expected viewership 5 billion. Lieutenant Commander Gray, who had been assigned permanently to the inevitable consequence as head of the newly formed Human Cultural Analysis Division, joined them. Yes, Admiral. It's set 300 years before the original series and depicts humanity's first ventures beyond their solar system. And they've already filed exemption requests for quantum communication interruptions during the premiere and finale, Veleth noted, pointing to the attached documentation. Corvin sighed. At least they're following protocol now. There's more, sir, Gray added, sounding somewhat amused. Apparently, the new series includes a character inspired by you. Corvin blinked. I beg your pardon. Admiral Corbin of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, Gray explained. A wise but sometimes exasperated alien officer who repeatedly saves humanity from its own curiosity. Velith failed to suppress a snort of laughter. They've requested your approval for the character, Gray continued. As a courtesy, the showrunners even invited you to attend the premiere in New York. Corvin was momentarily speechless. That won't be necessary. They may proceed with their fictional portrayal. Are you sure? Sir Gray pressed. It could be an opportunity for positive interspecies relations. The Council has been encouraging more cultural exchange initiatives. I believe I've had quite enough cultural exchange with Earth for one career. Lieutenant Commander. As you wish, sir. Though I should mention the series has already generated considerable interest among several Council species. The Rigelian delegates have organized a viewing party for the premiere. Corvin looked at her sharply. You're not serious. Entirely serious. Admiral. They were particularly impressed by the depiction of interspecies cooperation in the original series. Several other delegations have requested access to Earth entertainment streams. Wonderful, Corvin muttered. Next, we'll have council sessions interrupted because no one wants to miss the latest episode. That would be against protocol, sir, Velith said with perfect seriousness, though her eyes betrayed her amusement. Corvin shook his head, returning the datapad to Gray. Process the exemption requests according to Resolution 7295B, and maintain the 7th Fleet on standard alert status during the premiere, just in case. A precautionary measure, Sir, Velith asked. Let's call it an educated guess based on experience. Commander. When it comes to Earth, I've learned to expect the unexpected. As Corvin gazed out at the stars, visible from the bridge viewport, he couldn't help but reflect on the peculiar relationship between the Galactic Council and its most unpredictable member world. Perhaps there was wisdom in humans' approach, after all, using fiction to explore possibilities, preparing for reality through imagination. Or perhaps they were simply the most entertainingly chaotic species in the known galaxy. Either way, the 7th Fleet would remain on standby, ready for whatever silence came next from the 3rd planet of the Sol system. After all, in the vast expanse of the universe, few things were as reliably unpredictable as humanity's ability to surprise its galactic neighbors, usually without the slightest awareness that it was doing so.